Hello, my name is Rikio. Today we'll be going over question number 2 from worksheet number 13, which is about macros. And this question is asking us to implement the apply procedure, but as a macro procedure. So first, we'll just go over um, some review, and then we'll dive into the question. So first things first, let's remember that Scheme is a list processing language. So what that means is that if we have some expression like the +1, 2 here, what Scheme actually does is it represents this as a list of +1 and 2. And then we would evaluate from there. So when we're creating a macro, what we essentially want to do is we just want to make a list so that we can use this procedure. And if this is still confusing, I think this part of the question is really helpful here. So what it's saying here is that basically what we're given is we're given the arguments of operator and then a list of operands. So if we look at the doc test here, we can see the operator is print and the operands are 1 and 2. And what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to represent it like another list. So what we want our code to be returning is essentially just like print 1, 2. And this doc test is slightly off. It would actually return 1 and 2 on the same line. But you can see here that what it's doing is it's applying print to 1 and it's applying print to 2. If we look at the next doc test, we can see essentially the same thing. So in this doc test, our operator is the OR, and then this is the list of operands here. So if we rewrite this one, and when I say rewrite, this is basically what we want our macro to be returning, just a list in this form. So if we rewrite this, it'll be OR, and then we'll have true, we'll have this expression, and we'll have false. And we can see that it'll short circuit and it'll give us our true here because OR gives us the first true value. And that's reflected in the doc test here as well. So now that we know this, let's think about how we can take our arguments and represent it as a list in this form. So again, in Scheme, we know that there's like 3 ways to make lists. So we could use just list. For example, list 1, 2 would give us a list of 1, 2. We can use cons. And in cons, we want a value, and then we want like another list. So that can be like another cons, or it can just be some list. And then we can also use quote form or quasi-quote form. And if you need a review on quasi-quote form, I'd recommend reading the reading at the top of this worksheet. So now that we know we want to make some list, we can get started on that. So we know that we want the first element in this list to be the operator. So why don't we use cons? And let's say cons. So we want the first value to be the operator. And then we want all of the second values to be the operands. And recall that cons, as I said earlier, the second argument is a list. So if I just put in operands here, then it will make a list that would look like, for this first doc test here, print, and then 1, and then 2, which is exactly what we want. So this would be one potential solution. And we can also think about how we could represent this another way using one of these lists. So if we wanted to use this quasi-quote format, for example, then we know we start with quasi-quote, which means we're going to not evaluate anything after the quote. And we know that we want our operator, but we need to evaluate the operator. So we'll put a comma before, and a comma means that even though it's after this quasi-quote, we're going to evaluate it because it's after a comma as well. So we've evaluated our operator, and now we want to do the same with our operands. So we'll have our comma there as well. And both of these solutions would work. Okay, I hope this helped, and good luck.